had Brett Ciancia on from Pick Six Previews just a few weeks ago. He's fantastic at what he does. His magazine, which is here on the table in front of us. Let me get it out right here in front of us. Here's the one that's on the front of our table. He sent us a copy. Thank you for that. Brett Ciancia joins us on 365 Sports.
Brett, USC is interesting to me in that, look, they've put a lot of resources out there for Lincoln Riley, and maybe not in the appropriate spots early on. And he's had to grow up as a coach and buy into the fact that tackling is important, which D'Anton Lynn was brought in to do. But I think the real measure of Lincoln Riley is going to be this year with Jordan Mailata, who is not like, he's a good quarterback. He was 3-1 last year as the starter, but he is not what he's had when he was at Oklahoma. And then with Caleb Williams that he brought with him from OU, of a super stud quarterback at Heisman U, just kind of ready to go. This is going to show his real skills as a quarterback developer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big moment there because it wasn't just one guy that he recruited and is developing. It was really a head-to-head decision between Mailata and Miller Moss. He started the year with Miller Moss, and after a 3-interception game against Washington, benched Moss and made the switch. Of course, Miller Moss is now over at Louisville with Jeff Brom, and if history serves, Jeff Brom continues to turn these transfers into NFL players. So we'll see. It's going to be a comparison all year how Moss ends up at Louisville versus Mailata at USC. But overall, roster talent is really what catches my eye with USC compared to some of these other middle-tier Big Ten teams. You talked about resources. You're spot on there. I think they were one of the top, if not the top, NIL spenders this transfer portal cycle. So you know how expensive it is to bring in these transfers, and they really put their money up. So it's going to be interesting. Also, I want to see if he can survive one more year. I say that because next year's class, 2026, they're currently ranked number 1 in the country in high school recruiting. So you want to see the guy survive one more year just to get to that, get to coach that class next year. And that might be a turning point for USC as a program.
What do you think about some teams that have underperformed in recent years? You've mentioned USC, you've mentioned Oklahoma. Paul, give me a name or two, a program well, we know A&M had all the hype with that number 1 overall rated class. Nothing ever happened with that. Elko's brought some stability. Reed is back at quarterback. I saw where they just got a commitment from a 27 quarterback, which of course makes my head explode because that's for me a long time ago. I hope I'm still around during that time. Who has underperformed at a really bad level that you think might finally reach those capabilities outside of OU and USC, and is A&M one of them?
Well, yes, A&M. I've got them 12th in the country. Really impressed with what Mike Elko is building because he's done it elsewhere too. He was great at Duke. He was great at Notre Dame as a coordinator, actually here at A&M as a coordinator. So he's done it before. It's a very veteran team. I like what they have at offensive line with all 5 starters back, a couple future NFLers too on that line. Le'Veon Moss is back healthy. I really like it. It'll hinge on whether Marcel Reed takes the next step as a quarterback. You tend to see that in a guy's second year, so benefit of the doubt there. I think they're going to impress. And then to answer your question, another program that's really underperformed, I think it's the most underperforming program in the last decade in college football, and that's Nebraska. I say that with 2 facts to back it up. It's not just slander. It's, if you look at the Vegas win total every year, that's kind of a metric on where the public perceives them. Nebraska has underperformed against that 10 straight seasons. 10 straight win totals they've gone under. That's one of them. But then also in my book, I like to compare the recruiting rankings to the actual win conversion. Are they actually winning with their talent on the field? Out of the 68 Power 4 teams, Nebraska's dead last, 68th in my win conversion, looking at recruiting versus wins. And part of that is due to Mike Riley. Part of that's due to Scott Frost. It's kind of a lagging multi-year metric I have, but still, you want to see Matt Rhule start to flip that script this year. I think they will. After all that, I just stacked it up against them. I think they will this year because they have a 5-star quarterback in his second season. They're veteran at certain spots that are important, and they helped him out from the portal, bringing in 2 starters on the offensive line and 2 starters at receiver. So I think they're going to make a big improvement here. We saw Rhule do this at Baylor and at Temple. I think you get that boost here in year 3.
I think he thinks he's pretty good is that he won't return my damn text right now. He's all puckered up. He's got, they feel like, the expect. By the way, in the last 10 years, I'm a Nebraska guy. We got a helmet behind Paul in the background, but the last 10 years have been as excruciating, if not more so, than the 40 years in which they had that incredible run of winning 9+ games and national titles. In 10 years, they've torn 40 years of greatness out of my heart.
You know why, Brett? It's because they're doing the thing that is the biggest and look, they've been bad, but they've been mediocre bad. Like, they haven't committed to just sucking. And I think that's the biggest crime that any sports team can do is be mediocre.
Like the Cowboys sometimes?
Be good. Or the Cowboys for the last 30 years.
Well, they've been good. They just haven't been great. Yeah.
Like, be title worthy and compete at that level, or just be bad. Right, Brett? That's human decency.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was out in Lincoln for the Nebraska-Colorado game last September, and when Tommy Hill picked off Shedeur Sanders and took it back to the house, you could almost feel a decade's worth of nightmares and frustration just exercised from that stadium. It was the loudest I've ever heard a stadium. And, I think that moment was pretty special. They stormed the field probably the first time in school history. I'd never seen that in my life. So that was a special moment, and hopefully they can continue to build on that and get this thing back where it was, like you mentioned, the last several generations of college football.
Brett, I got to tell you, when Tommy Hill did that, I hadn't seen that in so long. I squealed like a 7-year-old. I did. I mean, I remember. I'm not so sure I didn't like mess my pants up. I haven't seen them make a play like that since Ndamukong Suh back in 2009. And there's a couple other teams that were pretty decent.
Brett, I want to ask you your thoughts on A&M real quick. Is Mike Elko the best coach for them because he's a little boring? They were trying for years to sell themselves as like this, they're trying to be somebody that they weren't. Hey, like Kevin Sumlin, swag copter, and, this is thing. But if you go to College Station, Texas, and look, I love it. My dad was born in Bryan, and my whole family, like his whole side of the family's from there. It's a wonderful place, but it's not Austin. It's not Miami. It's not some of these other places. It is a college town, a massive college, but it's kind of drab. Like, that's their thing. Do they need a guy who maybe matches the personality of what that place is?
Yeah, I could definitely see it. It's worth a shot after a couple coaches going the opposite way. And I think with Elko, you're just going to get quiet results. I mean, you see that when he was at Duke and when he was a coordinator here. It might not have all the flash and all the headlines, but it's going to be solid football. You saw a little bit of a turnaround last year. And, against Texas, I know the score was close. They were pretty out physical there. And, I think that they were still a year away from the breakthrough. But nonetheless, with all that said, he got them to the final weekend of the year with a play-in game for the SEC title game. That hadn't happened in a very long time, if not ever, for their SEC era. So even in the transition year, it was competitive, solid football. I think you see a second-year boost here. But, yeah, you're right. Maybe a little change of mentality could help and just get back to brass tacks and, block and tackle. And the recruiting will still be there because nowadays it's more money than ever. It's more NIL and money-based than, before this little change in the recruiting structure. So, yeah, they're going to benefit there. They have a really strong booster group and fan base. And so I think they're going to stay a powerhouse here. And
we appreciate it. Thank you, Brett.
Yep.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me anytime.
Brett Ciancia, Pick Six previews with us on 365 Sports.